Oh, man. People got jokes around here. People got jokes. All right. Zechariah's been Israel. I appreciate it. Appreciate it, my brother. Okay. So, let's get started. Deuteronomy chapter 23. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read through the chapter first. And then we'll come back and highlight some of the verses, give some precepts, and we'll move on to the next chapter until we've completed the 4 chapters. All right. So, Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 1. He that is wounded in the stones, or hath his privy member cut off, shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. A bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Lord. An Ammonite or a Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Even to the 10th generation shall they not enter into the congregation of the Lord forever, because they met you not with bread and with water in the way, when ye came forth out of Egypt, and because they hired against thee Balaam the son of Beor of Pethor of Mesopotamia to curse thee. Nevertheless, the Lord thy God would not hearken unto Balaam, but the Lord thy God turned the curse into a blessing unto thee, because the Lord thy God loveth thee. Thou shalt not seek their peace, nor their prosperity all thy days forever. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou wast a stranger in his land. The children that are begotten of them shall enter into the congregation of the Lord in their 3rd generation. When the host goeth forth against thine enemies, then keep them from every wicked thing. If there be among you any man that is unclean, stop it. All right. Sorry about that. If verse 10, Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 10. If there be among you any man that is not clean by reason of uncleanness, that chanceth him by night, then shall he go abroad out of the camp. He shall not come within the camp. But it shall be, when evening cometh, he shall wash himself with water, and when the sun is down, he shall come into the camp again. Thou shalt have a place also without the camp, whither thou shalt go forth abroad. And thou shalt have a paddle upon thy weapon, and it shall be, when thou wilt ease thyself abroad, thou shalt dig therewith, and thou shalt turn back and cover that which cometh from thee. For the Lord thy God walketh in the midst of thy camp to deliver thee, and to give up thine enemies before thee. Therefore shall thy camp be holy, that he see no unclean thing in thee, and turn away from thee. Thou shalt not deliver unto his master the servant which escapeth from his master unto thee. He shall dwell with thee, even among you, in the place which he shall choose in one of thy gates, where it liketh him best. Thou shalt not oppress him. There shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel, nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel. Thou shalt not bring the price of a whore or the price of a dog into the house of the Lord thy God for any vow, for even both these are abomination unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother, usury of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury. Unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury, but unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all that thou settest thine hand to do in the land whither thou goest to possess it. When thou shalt vow a vow unto the Lord thy God, thou shalt not be slack to pay it. For the Lord thy God will surely require it of thee, and it would be a sin in thee. But if thou shalt forbear to vow, it shall be no sin in thee. That which is gone out of thy lips, thou shalt keep and perform, even a free will offering according as thou hast vowed unto the Lord thy God, which thou hast promised with thy mouth. When thou comest into thy neighbor's vineyard, then thou mayest eat grapes, thy fill at thine own pleasure, but thou shalt not put in any in thy vessel. When thou comest into the standing corn of thy neighbor, then thou mayest pluck the ears with thine hand, but thou shalt not move a sickle unto thy neighbor's standing corn. Okay, so that is Deuteronomy chapter 23. So now let's go back and hit a couple of verses, get the understanding. All right. Verse 1. He that is wounded in the stones or hath his privy member cut off shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Now, some of these should sound familiar because we've already been through Exodus and Leviticus and Numbers, and some of these laws are just being repeated in Deuteronomy. So let's go to Leviticus chapter 21. All right, let's get a precept for Deuteronomy 23 and verse 1. Let's go to the book of Leviticus chapter 21 and verse 17. Leviticus chapter 21 and verse 17. All right. It says, speak unto Aaron, saying, whosoever he be of thy seed in their generation that have any blemish, let him not approach to offer his bread or offer the bread of his God. For whatsoever man he be that hath a blemish, he shall not approach a blind man or a lame, or he that hath a flat nose, or anything superfluous, or a man that is broken-footed, or broken-handed, or crooked-back, or a dwarf, or hath a blemish in his eye, or be scurvy, or scabbed, or hath his stones broken. Okay, or hath his stones broken. So, let's go back and read Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 1. It says, he that is wounded in the stones, or hath his privy member cut off, shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. All right. Verse 2. A bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord, even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation. Okay. So let's get some understanding of that. So it says a bastard, right, shall not enter in. Now, let me get first Zechariah chapter 9, verse 6. Let's get that. Zechariah chapter 9 and verse 6. All right. There's a lot of scriptures on this, but I'm only going to get a couple. It says, a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, and I will cut off the pride of the Philistines. I don't have, let's see, I wanted to bring out a map of Ashdod. Let me see if I can pull up something right quick. Bear with me just a minute. I don't think this is going to work. I don't think this is going to work. Shoot. Okay. All right. I'll just give you some precepts. That's not going to work. Let's go to the book of Joshua. Let's go to the book of Joshua. And chapter 15. In verse 20, it says, "This is the inheritance of the tribe of the children of Judah according to their families, and the uttermost cities of the tribe of the children of Judah toward the coast of Edom southward from Kabzeel and Eder and Jacob." All right, now let's jump down to verse 47. "Ashdod with her towns and her villages, Gaza with her towns and her villages unto the river of Egypt and the great sea and the border thereof." Okay, so these were, Ashdod was one of the towns, one of the cities that we were given. All right, but of course, we didn't drive out all the inhabitants. We lost that. Now, I want to go to Nehemiah 13. All right, let's go to Nehemiah chapter 13 and verse 23. "In those days also I saw Jews that had married wives of Ashdod, of Ammon, and of Moab. And their children spake in half the speech of Ashdod, and could not speak in the Jews' language, but according to the language of each people." Why is that? Because who is doing the raising of the children? And that is the mothers. All right. So now let's go back. Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 3. It says, "An Ammonite or a Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord, even to their 10th generation, they shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord forever." Let's go back to Nehemiah 13, and we're going to start at verse 1, and we're going to read 1 through 3. And it says, "On that day they read in the book of Moses in the audience of the people, and therein was found written that the Ammonite and the Moabite should not enter into the congregation of God forever, because they met not the children of Israel with bread and with water, but hired Baalim against them, that he should curse them. Howbeit our God turned the curse into a blessing. Now it came to pass, when they had heard the law, that they separated from Israel all the mixed multitude." Okay, so during the time of Nehemiah, they read this in the law, and our people separated from the mixed multitude whom we had intermarried with and had children with. Okay, let's go back to Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 4 now. And it says, "Because they met you not with bread and with water," this is what we just read in Nehemiah, "in the way when ye came forth out of Egypt, and because they hired against thee Baalim, the son of Beor, of Pethor of Mesopotamia, to curse thee." Where do we read that history? Let's go to Numbers chapter 22. We've already read this earlier in the 4 chapters a day. We'll go back over it right quick. Numbers chapter 22. And we're going to start at verse 2. All right. And it says, "And Balak, the son of Zippor, saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites. And Moab was sore afraid of the people, because there were many. And Moab was distressed because of the children of Israel. And Moab said unto the elders of Midian, Now shall this company lick up all that are round about us, as the ox licketh up the grass of the field. And Balak, the son of Zippor, was king of the Moabites at that time. And he sent messengers, therefore, unto Balaam, the son of Beor of Pethor, which is by the river of the land of the children of his people, to call him, saying, Behold, there is a people come out from Egypt. Behold, they cover the face of the earth, and they abide over against me. Come now, therefore, I pray thee, curse me this people, for they are too mighty for me. Peradventure I shall prevail, that we may smite them, and that I may drive them out of the land. For I wot that he whom thou blessest is blessed, and he whom thou cursest is cursed. And the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian departed with the rewards of divination in their hands, and they came to Balaam and spake unto him the words of Balak. Okay, so that's that history. You can go back and read the rest of it, reread it again. But that's the history that is being recounted here in Deuteronomy, the 23rd chapter. Okay, let's jump down to verse 7, to many people's favorite scripture in Deuteronomy 23. It says, "Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou wast a stranger in his land. The children that are begotten of them shall enter into the congregation of the Lord in their third generation." Now, I'm just going to give a couple of precepts because there are numerous videos. Bishop on the street teaching this. Deacons, captains teaching this as well. Captain Mattathias did a 15 minutes with the captains on it. All right. So there's plenty of places you can go back and you can get a multitude of precepts. But I'm going to give you a couple right now. It says, "Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite." Okay. So now this was a temporary law, and we're going to go to the book of Amos. Okay, like I said, I'm just going to give a couple of precepts. There's a number of precepts you can go to. You can go through the whole history, but go to one of those videos if you don't have the understanding, all right? Amos. Wait a minute. Amos. Chapter 1 and verse 9. "For thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Tyrus, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they delivered up the whole captivity to Edom, and remembered not the brotherly covenant." Verse 11, "Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because thou did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever." Okay, so Esau, he pursued after us with the sword. He cast off all pity, and even to this very day, as we see our people getting slaughtered by Esau, he had his anger against us is a perpetual anger. Let's get the book of, find it right quick. Ezekiel chapter 35, verse 5. Okay. "But thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end." Okay, so Edom broke that covenant. Okay, again, go watch one of the videos. There's plenty more precepts. Now, let's see. Let's go back to Deuteronomy 23 and 7. It says, "Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, for thou wast a stranger in his land." Okay, so a lot of times we don't, when brothers and sisters come up, they don't want to deal with that part. They just want to deal with Edom. Okay, let's go to the book of Joel, chapter 3 and verse 19. And it reads, "Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness, for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land." Okay, so let's go back. Let me keep track of the time here. Okay. let's jump down to let's go down to verse 9. When the host goeth forth against thine enemies, then keep thee from every wicked thing. Okay, so when we would go to war against our enemies, we were supposed to keep ourselves from every wicked thing. Let's get an example. Man. Let's get an example of that. Let's get Joshua chapter 6, verse 18. Joshua chapter 6. Joshua chapter 6 and 18 says, and ye in any wise keep yourselves from the accursed thing, lest ye make yourselves a curse when ye take of the cursed thing and make the camp of Israel a curse and trouble it. Okay, and make the camp of Israel a curse and trouble it. Now let's jump over to chapter 7. I'm going to read chapter 7, verse 1 and jump down. But the children of Israel committed a trespass in the accursed thing. For Achan, the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah, of the tribe of Judah, took of the accursed thing, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against the children of Israel. Okay, so it said, now we were not supposed to take of the accursed thing. And that's exactly what we did. What was the accursed thing? A Babylonian garment, because we were warned not to take anything. All right. So let's jump down. Let's see here. Chapter 7, verse 11. It says, Israel has sinned, and have also transgressed my covenant, which I commanded them. For they have even taken of the accursed thing, and have also stolen and disassembled also. And they have put it even among their own stuff. Therefore, the children of Israel could not stand before their enemies, but turned their backs before their enemies, because they were accursed. Neither will I be with you anymore, except ye destroy the accursed from among you. And when you go back and you read the history in Joshua, they had to destroy Achan and his family and all that belonged to him. Okay, they had to burn it and set a heap upon it because he broke the covenant. All right, so let's go back to Deuteronomy chapter 23. Verse 10, it says, if there be among you any man that is not clean by reason of his uncleanness that chanceth him by night, then he shall go abroad out of the camp. He shall not come within the camp. I'm not going to go there, but the precept is Leviticus 15 and 16. Scribe, you could put that precept in Leviticus 15, 16. But it shall be, when the evening cometh, he shall wash himself with water, and when the sun is down, he shall come again, or he shall come into the camp again. Thou shalt have a place also without the camp, whither thou shalt go forth. And thou shalt have a paddle upon thy weapon, and it shall be, when thou wilt ease thyself abroad, thou shalt dig therewith, and shalt turn back and cover that which cometh from thee. All right. So if you had to go take a dump, all right, make it plain, then you had to go without the camp to do that. Now, the next verse is going to explain why. Verse 14. For the Lord thy God walketh in the midst of thy camp, to deliver thee and to give up thine enemies before thee. Therefore shall thy camp be holy, that he see no unclean thing in thee, and turn away from thee. So when we just read what happened in Joshua with Achan, the son of Carmi, he brought something unclean into the camp. Okay, I'm going to read it again. It says, for the Lord thy God walketh in the midst of thy camp to deliver thee, to give up thine enemies before thee. Therefore shall thy camp be holy. Okay. Let's get a couple of precepts for that. Where it says the Lord walketh in the midst of thy camp, Joel 2:27. We should all know this precept. It's a pretty basic precept. Joel chapter 2, verse 27. It says, and you shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am your God and none else, and my people shall never be ashamed. Okay, so God says he's in the midst of us and none else. Let's go to, let me see which one of these I want to go to. Okay, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 30. I'll use this one. It says, the Lord your God, which goeth before you, he shall fight for you according to all that he did for you in Egypt before your eyes. Okay, so that's Deuteronomy 1 and 30. So the Lord would go before us and fight our battles. That's why he said he didn't want no unclean thing in the camp. Okay, no unclean thing, because he said we are holy and the camp's supposed to be holy. Okay. Let's see. Let's jump down to verse 17. It said, there shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel, nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel. Thou shalt not bring the hire of a whore or the price of a dog into the house of the Lord thy God for any vow. For even both these are abomination unto the Lord thy God. Okay. So it said there shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel, nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel. Okay, so we know what a sodomite is today, or that's the biblical word for a homosexual. When you go into the Zondervan's dictionary, when it says there should be no whore of the daughters of Israel, that's a sodomite-tess, okay? Or today we would call them lesbians, all right? Let's get Sirach chapter 41 verse 17. Ecclesiasticus chapter 41 verse 17. Because what is going on in the world today? There's a heavy push for our men to be lesbians. Our men to be homosexuals, our sisters to be lesbians. They just what's those two? Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B, right? They just put out some video, and being that they're very popular, you see how Esau is using their popularity to influence the younger generation to sin. Okay, just like with the young rappers when they started having them dress in skirts and dresses, and now it's cool to be gay. All right. Because they're trying to influence our younger generation in that way. So let's read Sirach chapter 41, verse 27. It says, be ashamed of whoredom before father and mother. Okay, it says, be ashamed of whoredom. This is what we have to come back to bringing our people into by being an example. The men being an example, our sisters being an example in the way they dress and carry themselves, and us having families, okay, reinstituting a father and a mother in a divine order according to 1 Corinthians 11 that the Most High God established. All right. So once again, it says, be ashamed of whoredom before father and mother. Let's go back to Deuteronomy chapter 23 verse 18. Thou shalt not bring the hire of a whore or the price of a dog into the house of the Lord thy God. So now what's that going into? Let's go to the book of Revelation chapter 22. All right. Revelation chapter 22. And Verse 14. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city. For without are dogs, and sorcerers, and whoremongers, and murderers, and idolaters, and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie. So when it says, for without are dogs, that's not the four-legged barking kind for some of you that are new, but that is the other nations. I'll give you a couple of precepts just to prove that that is the other nations. Let's go to Luke. No, I'm sorry, Matthew. Matthew. Which one do I want? Which one do I want? Which one? Okay, let's go. Yeah, let's go to Matthew first. Matthew 15 and 24. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, it is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to dogs. Okay. And she said, truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table. Okay, so he was speaking to a woman of another nation, and he called her a dog. She said, truth, Lord. All right, let's go to Proverbs. Or is it Psalms? Let's see. I think it's Psalms 22. Psalms chapter 22, verse 16. For dogs have compassed me. The assembly of the wicked hath enclosed me. They pierced my hands and my feet. So four-legged dogs didn't pierce Christ's hands and feet. All right. So what is this talking about? This is talking about the other nations. All right. In this case, it's talking about the Romans. All right. So now let's go back. Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 19. Thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother, usury of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury. Okay, so when you read the definition of usury, that's like interest. All right, you're not supposed to be charging interest to each other when we loan each other anything. All right, verse 20. Unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury. All right, so now let's go to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 12 and 13 to the blessings. All right, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 12. The Lord shall open unto thee his good treasure, the heaven to give the rain unto thy land in his season, and to bless all the work of thine hand. And thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow. And the Lord shall make thee the head and not the tail. And thou shalt be the head only, and thou shalt not be beneath, if thou hearken unto the commandments of the Lord thy God, which I command thee this day to observe and to do them. So that's our natural, our rightful place on the earth when we keep these commandments, that we should lend unto them, and we can get usury upon what we lend to them, but we should not do that to our own people. Now let's read that in the law. Exodus chapter 22, verse 25. Exodus chapter 22 and verse 25. It says, if thou lend money to any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as an usurer, neither shalt thou lay upon him usury. Okay, so again, we've read some of these things. It's kind of a recap of some of these laws and what we've read before. All right, so now let's jump down, because I'm looking at the time. Let's jump down to chapter 24. So I'm going to read chapter 24, and then we'll go back and we'll get some precepts out of Deuteronomy chapter 24. So Deuteronomy chapter 24 and verse 1. When a man hath taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he hath found some uncleanness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement, and give it in her hand, and send her out of his house. And when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. If the latter husband hate her, and write her a bill of divorcement, and give it her in her hand, and sendeth her out of his house, or if the latter husband die, which took her to be his wife, her former husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife. After that she is defiled, for that is abomination before the Lord, and thou shalt not cause the land to sin, which the Lord thy God hath given thee for an inheritance. When a man hath taken a new wife, he shall not go out to war, neither shall he be charged with any business, but he shall be free at home 1 year, and shall cheer up his wife which he hath taken. No man shall take the nether or upper millstone to pledge, for he hath taken a man's life to pledge. If a man be found stealing any of his brethren, the children of Israel, and maketh merchandise of him, or selleth him, then that thief shall die, and thou shalt put away evil from among you. Take heed in the plague of leprosy, that thou observe diligently, and do according to all that the priests, the Levites, shall teach you. As I commanded them, so ye shall observe to do. Remember what the Lord thy God did unto Miriam by the way, after that ye were come forth out of Egypt. When thou dost lend thy brother anything, thou shalt not go into his house to fetch his pledge. Thou shalt stand abroad, and the man to whom thou dost lend shall bring out the pledge abroad unto thee. And if the man be poor, thou shalt not sleep with his pledge. In any case, thou shalt deliver him the pledge again when the sun goeth down, that he may sleep in his own raiment, and bless thee, and it shall be righteousness unto thee before the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not oppress an hired servant that is poor and needy, whether he be of thy brethren or of thy strangers that are in the land within thy gates. At his day thou shalt give him his hire, neither shall the sun go down upon it, for he is poor, and setteth his heart upon it, lest he cry against thee unto the Lord, and it be sin unto thee. The father shall not be put to death for the children, neither shall the children be put to death for the fathers. For every man shall be put to death for his own sin. Thou shalt not pervert the judgment of the stranger, nor the fatherless, nor take a widow's raiment to pledge. But thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in Egypt, and the Lord thy God redeemeth thee thence. Therefore I command thee to do this thing. When thou cuttest down thine harvest in thy field, and hast forgot a sheaf in the field, thou shalt not go again to fetch it. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all the work of thine hands. When thou beatest thine olive tree, thou shalt not go over the boughs again. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow. When thou gatherest the grapes of thy vineyard, thou shalt not glean it afterward. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow. And thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in the land of Egypt. Therefore, I command thee to do this thing. All right. So let's go back to the divorcement. It says, when a man hath taken a wife and married her, this is Deuteronomy 24:1, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he hath found some uncleanness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement, and give it in her hand, and send her out of his house. Now, let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 19. Let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 19. And verse 7. Matthew chapter 19, verse 7. You know what? Let's start at verse 3. Matthew chapter 19, verse 3. The Pharisees also came unto him, tempting him, and saying unto him, Is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? And he answered and said unto them, Have ye not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, For this cause shall man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh. Wherefore they are no more twain, but one flesh. What God therefore hath joined together, let not man put asunder. They say unto him, Why did Moses then command to give a writing of divorcement and to put her away? He saith unto them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, suffered you to put away your wives. But from the beginning it was not so. And I say unto you, Whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committeth adultery. And whoso marrieth her, which is put away, doth commit adultery. Okay, so Christ magnified the law, and he said Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, allowed y'all to do that. Okay, let's jump back to Deuteronomy 24 and verse 3. And if the latter husband hate her, and write her a bill of divorcement, and giveth it in her hand, and sendeth her out of his house, or if the latter husband die, which took her to be his wife, her former husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife. So from there, let's go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 3. All right, Jeremiah chapter 3 and verse 1. It says, They say, if a man put away his wife, and she go from him and become another man's wife. That's what we're just reading in Deuteronomy. Shall he return unto her again? Shall not the land be greatly polluted? But thou hast played the harlot with many lovers, yet return again to me, saith the Lord. So the question is, if a woman leave that husband, can they be joined again? Okay, so now let's read it again in Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 4. Her former husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife. After that, she is defiled, for that is abomination before the Lord. And thou shalt not cause the land to sin, which the Lord thy God hath given thee for an inheritance. Okay, verse 5. It says, when a man hath taken a new wife, he shall not go out to war, neither shall he be charged with any business, but he shall be free at home 1 year, and shall cheer up his wife, which he hath taken. Okay, so that cheering up is, stay at home, and make a baby. Okay, that first year, stay at home, make a baby. All right. You can go to Genesis 3:16. I'm gonna read also out of 1 Corinthians 7. I'm gonna read this one in 1 Corinthians 7 because it's called here do benevolence. Okay, do benevolence. Benevolence means good. It is a good thing. Okay. Somebody put Netflix and chill. Okay. All right. It says, I'm going to start at verse 2. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence. Okay. Likewise also the wife unto the husband. So that's what they were supposed to be doing. You stay at home and cheer up your wife, because You leave and you go to war. Matter of fact, let me go back to Deuteronomy 20 and verse 1. All right, let's read this first. When thou go out to battle against thine enemies, and seest horses and chariots and a people more than thou, be not afraid of them, for the Lord thy God is with thee, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. Okay, now let's jump down to verse 5. Well, verse 4. For the Lord your God is he that goeth with you to fight for you against your enemies, to save you. And the officer shall speak unto the people, saying, what man is there that hath built a new house, and hath not dedicated it? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in the battle, and another man dedicate it. Let's jump down to verse 7. And what man is there that hath betrothed a wife, and hath not taken her? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in battle, and another man take her. Okay, so that gives you the understanding right there. Let's jump down to verse 6. It says, no man shall take the nether nor the upper millstone to pledge, for he that taketh a man's life to pledge. Okay, so what is that going into? The millstone. It's a tool for grinding mill. Let's go to Numbers chapter 11, verse 7 and 8. All right, let's get some understanding on that right quick. Numbers chapter 11, verse 7. Seven and 8. And it says, and the manna was as coriander seed, and the color thereof as the color of bdellium. And the people went about and gathered it and ground it in mills, or beat it in a mortar, and baked it in pans and made cakes of it. Okay, so they ground. It's a tool where we would grind the meal. All right, I mean we would grind. I think you grind. I'm not a farmer or anything like that, but I think you would grind the wheat and into you grind it into powder, or to make bread or to make cakes. Okay, but it's a tool. All right. So when we read it again, it says, this is Deuteronomy 24 and 6. No man shall take the nether or the upper millstone to pledge. Now let's go to Sirach 34 and 22. Why does it say not to do this? Sirach chapter 34 and verse 22. It says, he that taketh away his neighbor's living slayeth him, and he that defraudeth the neighbor of his hire is a blood shedder. Okay, so you taking away a man's living by taking away that which he uses. All right, it's a tool. Okay, it's like if somebody stole your tools and now you can't make a living. All right, it's better that they steal your money, because you can still go back with your tools and make more money. All right, let's jump down to verse 9. It says, remember what the Lord thy God did unto Miriam by the way, after that ye were come forth out of the land, or out of Egypt. Let's go to Numbers chapter 12. Numbers chapter 12. Verse 9. Numbers chapter 12 and verse 9. And it says, the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. Okay, why did she become leprous? Let's jump back up to verse 1. And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman, for he had married, And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman. So they were speaking against Moses about the woman that he married. But remember, Miriam wasn't supposed to be speaking against Moses. So what happened? Miriam was turned leprous as snow. And it says also that if her father had but spit in her face, meaning chastised her, rebuked her sharply, she wouldn't have had that tongue to get fly. Okay, so that's for a lot of our sisters today that don't have that understanding. All right, let's read 10. Then we're gonna jump down to chapter 25 because the time is getting away. It says, this is Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 10. When thou dost lend thy brother anything, thou shalt not go into his house to fetch his pledge. Thou shalt stand abroad and let the man to whom thou dost lend shall bring out the pledge abroad unto thee. And if the man be poor, thou shalt not sleep with his pledge. In any case, thou shalt deliver him the pledge again when the sun goeth down, that he may sleep in his own raiment and bless thee, and it shall be righteousness unto thee before the Lord thy God. Now, the reason I wanted to read this is a little bit of history about how wicked we were. First, let's get the law. Let's get that in Exodus 22, 26, and 27 about the pledge. Exodus chapter 22 and verse 26. If thou at all take thy neighbor's raiment to pledge, thou shalt deliver it unto him by that the sun goeth down. We just read that in Deuteronomy. For that is his covering only. It is his raiment for his skin, wherein he shall sleep. And it shall come to pass, when he crieth unto me, that I will hear, for I am gracious. So now let's go to the book of Amos. Let's see where we did that in history. Remember, things written aforetime were written for our learning. So it says that we weren't supposed to do that. You're supposed to give it back to him before the sun went down. Amos chapter 2, verse 6. It says, for thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Israel, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they sold the righteous for silver and the poor for a pair of shoes, that pant after the dust of the earth on the head of the poor, and turn aside the way of the meek. And a man and his father shall go in unto the same maid to profane my holy name. And they shall lay themselves down upon clothes laid to pledge. That's the point. And they shall lay themselves down upon clothes laid to pledge by every altar, and they shall drink the wine of the condemned in the house of their God. So remember what we read. You're supposed to give that man his raiment that he pledged back before the sun went down. They getting drunk, making pallets of to lay down. Like I know some of you, if you grew up like I did, you just spent the night over it, or some of you may have enough brothers and sisters, and you got to make a little pallet of clothes or whatever on the floor. That's what they doing. They just taking people's raiment and they just stacking it up, and they laying down in the temple of their gods, and instead of returning it as righteousness is. That's why the Lord was jacking us up. Okay, we was wicked as you know what to each other. All right. So let's go to. Oh no, I'm gonna get this one too, right quick. Let's go to Deuteronomy 24 and 16. It says, "The fathers shall not put to death, or the fathers shall not be put to death for the children, neither shall the children be put to death for the fathers. For every man shall be put to death for his own sin." All right, every man shall be put to death for his own sin. Let's go get an example. 2 Kings 14 and verse 5. 2 Kings chapter 14 verse 5. All right, and it says, "And it came to pass, as soon as the kingdom was confirmed in his hand, that he slew his servants which had slain the king his father. But the children of the murderers he slew not, according unto that which is written in the book of the law of Moses, wherein the Lord commanded, saying, the fathers shall not be put to death for the children, nor the children be put to death for the fathers, but every man shall be put to death for his own sins. Okay, now let's go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 18. Ezekiel chapter 18 and verse 20. It says, the soul that sinneth, it shall die. The son shall not bear the iniquity of the father, neither shall the father bear the iniquity of the son. The righteousness of the righteous shall be upon him, and the wickedness of the wicked shall be upon him. Okay, so now let's go back to Deuteronomy chapter 25. All right, Deuteronomy chapter 25, verse 1. If there be a controversy between men, and they come unto the judgment, that the judges may judge them, then they shall justify the righteous and condemn the wicked. And it shall be, if the wicked man be worthy to be beaten, that the judge shall cause him to lie down and to be beaten before his face according to his fault by a certain number. 40 stripes may he give him and not exceed, lest if he should exceed and beat him above with many stripes, then thy brother should seem vile unto thee. Thou shalt not muzzle the ox when he treadeth out the corn. If brethren dwell together, and one of them die and have no children, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in unto her and take her to him and perform the duty of an husband brother unto her. And it shall be that the firstborn which she beareth shall succeed in the name of his brother which is dead, that his name be not put out of Israel. And if the man like not to take his brother's wife, then let his brother go up to the gate unto the elders and say, my husband's brother refuseth to raise up unto his brother a name in Israel. He will not perform the duty of my husband's brother. Then the elders of his city shall call him and speak unto him. And if he stand to it and say, I like not to take her, then shall his brother's wife come on unto him in the presence of the elders, and loose his shoe from off his foot, and spit in his face, and shall answer and say, so shall it be done unto the man that will not build up his brother's house. And his name shall be called in Israel, the house of him that hath his shoe loosed. When men strive together with one another, and the wife of one draweth near, for to deliver her husband out of the hand of him that smiteth him, and putteth forth her hand, and take him by the secrets, then shalt thou cut off her hand, thine eye shall not pity her. Thou shalt not have in thy bag divers weights, a great and a small. Thou shalt not have in thine house divers measures, a great and a small. But thou shalt have a perfect and just weight, a perfect and just measure shalt thou have, in thy days, that thy days may be lengthened in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. For all that do so, or do such things, and all that do unrighteously are an abomination unto the Lord thy God. Remember what Amalek did unto thee by the way, when ye were come forth out of Egypt, how he met thee by the way, and smote the hindmost of thee, even all that were feeble behind thee. And when thou wast faint and weary, and he feared not God. Therefore it shall be, when the Lord thy God hath given thee rest from all thine enemies round about in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. Thou shalt not forget it. Okay, so I'm going to give you some precepts to write down. Write these down. I'm going to go over the Amalek. For verse 3, when it says 40 stripes may he give him and not exceed. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 22 and verse 25. Paul recounted how he was beaten. All right, so that's a precept for that. All right. Verse 4, thou shalt not muzzle the ox when he treadeth out the corn. The corn is the reward for the ox. Okay, so 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 17 and 18. About the let's just get that one right quick. It's about how you treat and give respect unto the elders. All right. 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 17. It says, let the elders that rule well be counted worthy of double honor, especially they who labor in word and doctrine. For the scripture saith, thou shalt not muzzle the ox that treadeth out the corn, and the laborer is worthy of his reward. So, giving double honors is not just saying double honors to the leadership, but you have true respect and reverence to your leadership that labor in this word and doctrine. Okay. Let's go back to Deuteronomy 25 and 5. If brethren dwell together and one of them die and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in unto her and take her to him to wife. Okay, now check this out. I'm gonna give y'all a couple of precepts. This ain't no longer. All right. So don't be trying to use that as an excuse to go hit your brother's wife. All right. Because you you dead wrong. All right. That was for your name being put out, not being put out because of our land inheritance. All right. So a couple of precepts for that is Genesis chapter 38, verse 6 through 10. All right. That's one. Genesis 38, verse 6 through 10. All right. You can also read in the book of Ruth, Ruth chapter 3, verse 10 through 13. All right. Ruth chapter 3, verse 10 through 13. And chapter 4, 1 through 6. All right. So I'm going to repeat those. Ruth chapter 3, 10 through 13. And chapter 4, 1 through 6. Also, Matthew chapter 22, 23 through 30. All right. Y'all got that? Matthew chapter 22, 23 through 30. Okay. Let's jump down to Deuteronomy. Make sure you got that, scribe. Deuteronomy chapter 25 and verse 17. All right. So the last one is Matthew 22, 23 through 30. All right. All praises. Deuteronomy chapter 25, verse 17. Remember what Amalek did unto thee by the way when ye were come forth out of Egypt, how he met thee by the way and smote the hindmost of thee, even all that were feeble behind thee, when thou wast faint and weary, and he feared not God. Okay, so let me give you a couple of precepts. Just bear with me just a second. Officer, keep hitting me up. Let me Okay. All right. So let's go to 1 Samuel 15 and 2. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 2. Just give you a couple of precepts for this. And then we're going to move on to chapter 26. It says, thus saith the Lord of hosts. I remember that which Amalek did to Israel, how he laid wait for him in the way when he came up from Egypt. Now go and smite Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass. Okay, remember what Amalek did, right? So now let's go to the book of Exodus, chapter 17, verse 8. Exodus chapter 17 and verse 8. And it reads, Then came Amalek and fought with Israel in Rephidim. All right. Then came Amalek and fought with Israel in Rephidim. Let's jump down to verse 14. It says, And the Lord said unto Moses, Write this for a memorial in a book, and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua. For I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. And Moses built an altar and called the name of it Jehovah Nissi. For he said, Because the Lord has sworn that the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. And if you guys see, we are still having that war even to this time, because they're trying to say that we're anti-Semitic. And if you've been paying any attention to the classes that Bishop have done, and continues to do, you see that war is going on even to this day. All right, so now let's jump down to chapter 26, and let's get through 26, that we can get through these 4 chapters. All right. Deuteronomy chapter 26 and verse 1. And it shall be, when thou art come unto the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance, and possess it, and dwellest therein, that thou shalt take of the first of all the fruit of the earth, which thou shalt bring of the land that the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shalt put it in a basket, and shalt go unto the place which the Lord thy God shall choose to place his name there, and shalt go unto the priest that shall be in those days, and say unto him, I profess this day unto the Lord thy God, that I am come unto the country which the Lord thy God, which the Lord sware unto our fathers to give us. And the priest shall take the basket out of thine hand, and set it down before the altar of the Lord thy God. And thou shalt speak and say before the Lord thy God, A Syrian ready to perish was my father. And he went down into Egypt, and sojourned there with a few, and became there a nation great, mighty, and populous. And the Egyptians evil entreated us, and afflicted us, and laid upon us hard bondage. And when we cried unto the Lord God of our fathers, the Lord heard our voice, and looked on our affliction, and our labor, and our oppression. And the Lord brought us forth out of the land of Egypt with a mighty hand, and with an outstretched arm, and with great terribleness, and with signs, and with wonders. And he brought us forth into this place, and hath given us this land, even a land that floweth with milk and honey. And now behold, I have bought the first fruits of the land, which thou, O Lord, hast given me. And thou shalt set it before the Lord thy God, and worship before the Lord thy God. And thou shalt rejoice in every good thing which the Lord thy God hath given unto thee, and unto thine house, thou and the Levite and the stranger that is among you. When thou hast made an end of tithing, all the tithes of thine increase the 3rd year, which is the year of tithing, and hast given it unto the Levite, the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, that they may eat within thy gates and be filled. Then thou shalt say before the Lord thy God, I have bought away the hallowed things out of mine house, and also have given them unto the Levite, and unto the stranger, to the fatherless, and to the widow, according to all thy commandments which thou hast commanded me. I have not transgressed thy commandments, neither have I forgotten them. I have not eaten thereof in my mourning, neither have I taken away aught thereof for any unclean use, nor given aught thereof for the dead. But I have hearkened to the voice of the Lord my God, and have done according to all that thou hast commanded me. Look down from thy holy habitation, from heaven, and bless thy people Israel, and the land which thou hast given us, as thou swearest unto our fathers, a land that floweth with milk and honey. This day the Lord thy God hath commanded thee to do these statutes and judgments. Thou shalt therefore keep and do them with all thine heart and with all thy soul. Thou hast avouched the Lord this day to be thy God, and to walk in his ways, and to keep his statutes and his commandments and his judgments, and to hearken unto his voice. And the Lord hath avouched this day to be his peculiar people, as he hath promised thee, and that thou shouldest keep all his commandments, and to make thee high above all nations which he hath made in praise and in name and in honor, that thou mayest be an holy people unto the Lord thy God, as he hath spoken. Okay, so let's go over a couple of these. We got about 5 minutes tops. So let's go back to verse 5. And thou shalt speak and say before the Lord thy God, a Syrian ready to perish was my father. And he went down into Egypt and sojourned there with a few, and became there a nation great, mighty, and populous. Let's go to the book of Hosea. Chapter 12, verse 12. And Jacob fled into the country of Syria, and Israel served for a wife. And for a wife he kept sheep. All right, so we read that in Genesis. All right, let's go to verse 6. Deuteronomy 26:6. And the Egyptians evil entreated us, and afflicted us, and laid upon us hard bondage. Let's go to the book of Exodus, chapter 1. Exodus, chapter 1, verse 8. All right, it says, now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that, when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. Therefore, they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasured cities, Pithom and Ramses. All right. So that's precept for 26 and 6. Let's jump down to verse 16. And it says, this day the Lord thy God hath commanded thee to do these statutes and judgments. Thou shalt keep therefore and do them with all thy heart and with all thy soul. Thou hast avouched the Lord this day to be thy God. That means we confirm that, you know what? You're our God and we're going to be your people. Okay, so that's what that word means. Affirm or confirm. We avouched this day. Okay. Verse 18. And the Lord hath avouched this day to be his peculiar people, as he hath promised thee, and thou shouldest keep all his commandments. Let's get Psalms 135 in verse 4. Psalms chapter 135. In verse 4, it says, for the Lord hath chosen Jacob unto himself, and Israel for his peculiar treasure. Okay, so when it says that, and the Lord hath avouched thee this day to be his peculiar people. Let's also get 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 9. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation, peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who have called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. That's us. We were called out of our sins into the light, which is what? The commandments, the laws. Proverbs 6:23. All right. Which in time past were not a people, but now are the people of God, which had not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy. Why were we not a people? Because we were called by other names. African American, Dominican, Negro, Spic, but now we are coming into the understanding that we are actually the children of Israel. All right, so let's go back. You also have Exodus chapter 19, verse 5 and 6. So now let's go back and let's read verse 19, Deuteronomy 26:19. And to make thee high above all nations, which he hath made in praise and in name and in honor, that thou mayest be an holy people unto the Lord thy God, as he has spoken. That is Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. Okay, among other scriptures. All right, so that's going to conclude the reading for today. Again, if you have questions, because I wasn't able to go over all the scriptures, but if you have questions, submit those questions to the captains, okay, on the Facebook for Chapters a Day page, all right, and they will get to them. They answer the questions, all right. Remember, we have classes 3 times a day, 7 days a week, all right. So, join the Boosters Club, and if you don't join, go to IUIC. I believe it's IUIC.fundraising at israelunite.org and donate. All right. So that our leadership can continue to travel abroad when this COVID is lifted and continue to raise up the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay. So with that, I'm going to say shalom, family. Most high in Christ bless. Lord willing, see you again.